Welcome back. I'm Joseph Patrick Daniels, and this is part 3 of how to easily draw and shade noses. If you haven't watched parts 1 and 2 yet, please jump back to the previous video. Again, this exercise is part of a larger course I teach on traditional drawing I've created for beginners, how to draw from beginner to master. It's available online on demand, so if you'd like to watch a preview of the course, just click the link below and it will take you to my site. Okay, I'll jump right back in from where I left off in the previous video. The next step is to begin building up my shading anywhere I see that needs a darker value. I'll use a medium charcoal for this. There's really no area dark enough to merit a dark charcoal in this image. There's a slightly darker line here, but be careful not to let this little wrinkle turn into a cavern. Use a very light touch. This nostril can get a touch darker. And this shadow can use another pass. Beneath here as well. I'm noticing I may have gone a little too far with my shadow. It looks too low. That's an easy fix. I'll just run a kneaded eraser past it and lift it up a bit. That wasn't an intentional mistake to prove a point, but it does illustrate how easy it is to fix a mistake with charcoal or drawing in general. So remember, there's no need to worry when you catch a mistake. It's all part of the drawing process, and more importantly, the learning process. I want to fine-tune the shape of this shadow a little using my detail eraser. And add a bit more softness on the bottom edges of each wrinkle to make it feel like it's rounder. There's a bit more of a shadow here, and it flows right into the larger shadow on the left side of the nose. The more I look at this area, the more I see. Now I can bring in these very fine creases of lighter shapes that come into the shadow up here. The more details I add, the more natural this shadow is going to look. There's rarely a perfectly straight line on a face. There's so much skin bending and being pulled by muscles, it's actually an incredibly random surface. I see another subtle plane here to the left of the highlight that will add some more structure. And there's another one here. I could even bring in a very light value to define it a bit more. I'll add a sense of tension with a few expressive but very light strokes to give the drawing some energy. Now I'll erase the outline I drew for the highlight, otherwise it will show through the white charcoal. Remember, white charcoal is translucent. Just leave a very light outline so you know where it is. Next, I'll switch to a detail eraser and omit the rim light around the bottom of the nostril. I'm just gently dabbing. I don't want to lighten it too much. If you look closely, you'll see that it's still relatively dark in the reference. Okay, that looks good. Take a moment to step back, observe, and compare your drawing to the reference. And when you're ready, let's move on to the final step and add the light values using white charcoal. I'm just going to quickly omit where this highlight on the left will go. Same for the main highlight. If you have any shading there, be sure to clear it away. It's best not to shade white charcoal over dark charcoal or pencil if you can avoid it. I'll begin at the top and work my way down. As usual, I'm going to build my light values up gradually, so it's okay to add some white charcoal anywhere you see a tone from third value down to first. I'll move to this long abstract highlight that runs down the bridge of the nose next. As you can see, it's not a solid form, it's catching the light where the nose wrinkles. So add these in using a motion in the direction of the pull. That adds a nice energy to the drawing. Take your time and enjoy the process. If you think it's taking too long to draw a nose, remember, it took Leonardo da Vinci 4 years to paint the Mona Lisa. And he was one of the greatest artists that's ever lived. He was 51 years old when he started and a master at the craft. Plus, he didn't have TV and social media to distract him, so he probably worked like 11 hours a day. Notice I'm using an extended underhand grip for this. That gives me a wider range of motion to get a nice energy to my stroke and maximum pressure control. Don't just automatically go right to the tripod grip for everything. It will make your charcoal drawings feel stiff. The only time I use a tripod grip is when doing detail, finer lines, and tight curves. The tripod grip offers control but is very restricting. If you're not familiar with the various grips, be sure to go to painters-academy.com and watch my lecture. There's even an animation and downloadable drawings and diagrams to help you with your form. There are a few minor, very light lines in here that will help add a sense of taut, healthy skin stretching, but don't overdo it. Remember, a little goes a long way with white charcoal. Next, I'll add this secondary highlight on the left side of the nose that's coming from the fill light. And I'll add the main highlight. Pay attention to how soft its edges are, and how the texture of the pores in the nose are being picked up by the light. This highlight defines the texture of the skin. Look closely, find any little speckles of light. Do your best to add every detail and subtlety. That looks good. I'll move over here to this spot where the nostril is being pulled by the muscle in her cheek. A few light lines makes it feel like it's stretched skin. And that goes into this light area around the mouth. I'd say it's about third or second value, so don't go too light. I see a light shade in here that should add some volume to the area. Notice that the light is catching the inner edge of the nostril. Be sure to add that. I see a very light tone over here on the left. Okay, that looks good. I'll begin softening some of my shading. Again, you don't need to soften white charcoal, it's just my preference for this demonstration. White charcoal is often where a lot of the expression in a charcoal drawing is added, so if you got some nice energy in your strokes, don't feel pressured to do this step, or only do it where you see fit. And be careful not to lose detail while softening these areas. It's better to just leave spots that have a lot going on like this one. Now I can come back in with my white charcoal and build up the lightest highlights even more. Great, take a moment, step back, and see how your shading is fitting into the overall image. Look for areas that can still be lightened, and areas that you may have gone too far with. I think this side of the nose that's being hit directly by the light source can be lightened overall. That was such a minor addition, but I think it really helped make my drawing feel more three-dimensional and rounder. Okay, this looks good. Stand up, take a step back, and give your drawing one last look to see if you need to make any changes. And this one's finished. Sharpen your pencils, and let's move on to the next nose in the exercise. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more great tips on traditional drawing and painting techniques. And visit my online art school, the Beginner to Master Art Academy, if you'd like to preview the full course, as well as oil and acrylic painting courses for both beginners and experienced artists. Start your journey today.